Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we got another Gun Gripe episode for you. All right, this one's a doozy, and it has to do with FUDs. Elmer Fuds, to be exact. And Elmer apparently has lost his double-barrel shotgun in an unfortunate hunting accident. Or maybe it's actually just the executives deciding that it's politically incorrect for him to have a shotgun to hunt rabbits. So we're going to dive into this, and I definitely would like to take a moment to thank the kind folks at SDI for supporting Gun Gripes. They have some wonderful programs on firearms technology, some great higher education in the way of that. Put that GI Bill to work for you. They are a great group of people, definitely worth looking into. All right, so why should anybody care what type of weapon a cartoon character has? Okay, well, the short answer, extremely short answer, is that cartoons represent a microcosm of what is going on in our society at any one given time, right? Cartoons have always represented the societal things that are going on and our responses to that. Sometimes our fears and our joys, right, get immortalized in cartoons, right? You know, back when Looney Tunes was initially a thing, and it's been around a long time, hunting culture was a huge part of our heritage, and cartoon artists at the time, of course, would include that type of stuff within their cartoons, right? And a lot of our, the Americana surrounding cartoons as well is, I'm sure many people remember being a young person sitting around, the TV on Saturday morning with Grandpa and laughing at Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd trying to get Bugs Bunny, and laughing at Roadrunner getting away from the Wile E. Coyote, and laughing at Yosemite Sam shooting his guns in the air. And it's just, gun culture is a part of Americana. Like, it is America. So by taking Elmer Fudd's shotgun away, it's actually doing much more than simply just some pandering to a political view. It's actually defeating the Americana of why Elmer Fudd even existed in the first place to begin with, okay? Walt Disney also early on was commissioned to draw war films that depicted, the propaganda going on in Nazi Germany. So, Walt Disney, of course, cartoons again representing the times, right? Representing what was going on at the times and using cartoons as a medium to express those emotions, to express the things that are going on in the world. I mean, look at South Park, look at Simpsons, the South Park's very politically incorrect. There are many things, they make fun of everybody. But why is South Park so successful? Because it's funny and because people like to laugh at each other's misfortunes a little bit. And they also like to laugh at their own misfortunes. When Matt and Trey call out someone on their bullcrap, and it happens to be you, and you're watching it, you kind of get a chuckle like, well, that was at my expense because they're kind of making fun of rednecks. But at the same time, it's like, you know what, that's funny. Sometimes cartoons just have to be funny, and they have to make us feel a certain way. But at the end of the day, cartoons are to kind of escape reality a little bit, but with like a slight edge of what's really going on in the world around you. But when you take that away, when you remove the relevance of Americana from something as iconic as Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd, what direction have we gone to allow that,
Downhill. So the removal of like firearms from cartoons and stuff is not something that's exactly brand new. I mean, firearms have been out of the public's eye as far as like, children's programming for a long time because of cultural shifts and supposed, change in the public's perception of firearms and firearms owners and gun violence, this gun violence epidemic.
Well, they're trying to push that.
So
change.
all it is just, it's 100% propaganda. They're propagandizing cartoons today, just like they used to, but today it's got a definite different feel to it, okay? And now it's just pandering to this like leftist agenda. It's just saying, okay, well, you're not thick-skinned enough to be able to handle the truth, or be able to handle a cartoon, which is fantasy, and a cartoon character, shooting and missing, the protagonist. You have the antagonist, which is Elmer Fudd. You have the protagonist, which is Bugs Bunny. Shooting and missing all the time. Bugs Bunny always escaping and getting the upper hand on Elmer Fudd. You can't look at that. Like these adults that say, okay, we need to take these guns away. they can't look at that with with a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Not
brevity.
Like humility, brevity. Yeah, that's a perfect word. And just say, oh well, this is going to teach kids that violence is okay and gun violence is okay. Well, what about all the Acme anvils and the dynamite and the explosives and things
Rockets
like that? I mean, what about all this other violence? I mean, if you want to talk about violence in cartoons, then you might as well just take it all out. It reminds me of an episode of The Simpsons where they removed all violence from Itchy and Scratchy, and the kids were like, boo! You know?
Well, what about Marvin the Martian trying to blow up Earth? I mean, he's trying to blow up the entire planet. You don't see them taking Marvin the Martian's, earth-shattering kaboom device.
Yep.
Where's the earth-shattering kaboom?
I mean, I don't understand I don't understand where the public outcry is. I mean, where is this giant public outcry that guns need to be removed from cartoons? It seems like nowadays one or two people on social media can voice some kind of complaint that's really unwarranted, and it's only an emotional response. It has nothing based in logic or just common sense whatsoever, and immediately they feel all this heat, and they're like, oh, one person doesn't like this, let's change this, let's remove these guns, because they're bad, oh no! It's political pandering at its best, and it's these double standards that you see all the time. It's like, let's take guns out, but let's keep the violence, because the violence was grandfathered in.
Right.
Do we have a gun problem in this country, or do we have a, violence problem in this country, just in general?
Well, now Elmer Fudd has a scythe.
Well, that's okay. The newest episode. He has a scythe. Yeah,
yeah, he has a scythe.
And look, I read an article on that, and it's like, why did you choose a scythe? Oh well, because it's not a commonly used item in America for violence. What? Oh, so now you're just going to give all these kids ideas like, man, I'm going to grow up and get me a scythe and go around cutting people up.
I don't think it's like that at all. Okay,
what's the idea?
Yosemite Sam is having his guns taken away too.
What's he going to do?
Okay, I like slow poke Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Because every time that cat would get him, he'd pull out his gun, boom, shoot the cat.
Yeah.
Like, oh, slow poke Rodriguez, he pack a gun. It's like so funny. So the thing about Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd that is so odd too is that so here's Elmer Fudd unloading on Bugs Bunny and missing him all the time. So you get the benefit of getting to see some cool guns and see them run around shooting everything. I mean, kids love guns. Of course, that's just part of it. I mean, and think about kids growing up when we grew up. It was perfectly common, Yosemite Sam, Marvin the Martian, Elmer Fudd, and watching all of that stuff, and then getting into The Simpsons and like Itchy and Scratchy, and they were always doing all kind of violent things to each other. You look at video games and you look at all the stuff that's going on in video games, and these video games are getting more realistic. The weapons are getting very, very realistic. And I don't think that's a big deal, right? I run into a lot of young people now that have been raised on video games, right? Violent video games, okay? That can probably tell me more about random guns than I even know, and I'm a gun guy. And so to say that, firearms shouldn't have a place in our culture, or they shouldn't have a place in pop culture, or they shouldn't have a place in cartoon culture, that's just completely erroneous, because these cartoons, these video games, these movies, all the things that surround pop culture, memes, meme lore, whatever, it is a microcosm of American culture. All right, someone has to create that meme. Someone has to create that movie, that video game, that cartoon, right? A person created that. All the cartoon or movie or media is a representation of how we feel at that given time. So there's going to come a time in history, 100 years from now, when someone's going to look back and go, yeah, well, that was when Looney Tunes went politically correct. But it doesn't mean that Elmer Fudd doesn't use a shotgun, because he does. He is a hunter. He is hunting rabbits. You hunt rabbits with a shotgun. That is perfectly normal. At the time that Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd were originally thought of, everybody hunted. It was just a common thing. It wasn't a big deal. Every household had guns. Kids loved guns back then. And the thing is, I like to look at it as like this silent majority type of thing, right? The media and social media and all of these various outlets, they make it almost borderline criminal for you to express your concern or your thoughts over something that they might disagree with. They label you with any name under the sun, right?
Oh, you get crucified.
You get crucified on social media for speaking the truth, and if it doesn't line up with their belief system. And this cancel culture that has been created as a result is literally points straight to things like Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam losing their guns in the cartoons. So if they can't beat you with logic, they simply just have to cancel your culture. So it's literally cancel culture at its finest in terms of how this thing ends up working out. The issue is, though, is that we wind up having to be silent over it, and we're scared to, say what needs to be said for fear of being called this or that. And I think that there are a lot more young people that are into guns and that love guns, and families that understand and respect firearms, at least at a very minimum from the standpoint of safety and just having a basic gun in the home, maybe for self-defense and maybe occasional go out and hunt or something like that. There are many more families and households that respect and honor that in the same tradition that they used to than the media and society, and especially the mainstream media, would have you believe in a million years. It's just they're scared to talk about it, and that's kind of that silent majority type thing.
Well, it's not only that, but also like the people who run these polls and the news organizations that run polls, like a lot of polls recently, I mean, not only recently, but also throughout the years, they're skewed one direction or the other, and it happens on both sides, and it's unfair not to take a sample of a variety of different people, especially when it comes to like political things. When you're talking about registered voters, you've got polls that would just go into one particular stronghold, either Democratic or Republican, whatever the case is, and just poll 1,000 people out of there, and not even all of them are registered voters, so their opinions really don't matter in that particular poll, but they still publish that kind of bullcrap all the time. And, it's to give you an idea of like what the public really feels, but it's all a lie. So with the cartoons, like all this political correctness in these cartoons and stuff, it always goes back to political pandering and trying to appease some particular group that, I mean, really on the big scheme of things really doesn't matter. Like it's just a group that tries to put their values on you. Well, why can't we just
They're a vocal minority.
Yeah, why can't we just say, okay, well, guns are a thing in this country. We have the Second Amendment. People own firearms. More people are buying guns now with everything going on than in history, it seems.
Yeah.
More and more gun owners. I mean, every single hour of every single day. And like gun violence is a problem in the country? No, violence is a problem and guns are the answer. Because especially now, when police are being defunded, there are police precincts that are saying, you know what, we're fed up with this, we're done, and just letting the criminals take over some of these cities. I mean, look at what's going on, and tell me that gun ownership is not a cultural thing in this country.
Well, we can certainly see the hypocrisy of this entire situation quite clearly at this point in the video. I'm sure you can see how messed up it is. But the final nail in this coffin is the irony that surrounds Elmer Fudd losing his shotgun. So what have we said for years and years about Fudds, right? So if, in case you don't know, the slang Fudd refers to a casual gun owner, but more specifically refers to a gun owner who thinks that the only gun that anybody should have is a double-barrel shotgun or a hunting rifle or something like that, and that nobody needs a semi-automatic, nobody needs a machine gun, nobody needs an AR-15, etc. Yep. Okay? The irony of this is that we've always said, all right, all you Fudds out there that won't stand up for the Second Amendment in its totality are going to be whining when they come for your double-barrel shotgun, when they're done with your rifle, when they're done with us. What have they done? They took Elmer Fudd's shotgun.
That's where they're going to start.
That's the irony. That's the irony of this situation, is that the very term that describes your hypocrisy is the term by which now we see this clear and blatant pandering is by taking Elmer Fudd's shotgun. So if they'll take Elmer Fudd's shotgun, you better believe they will take any gun they want, when they want, any way they can.
Yep.
And it is literally the apex of cancel culture. Cancel culture is a thing in this country, and it doesn't get addressed that often in many circles because people want to deny that it's happening. But
it's happening.
But cancel culture is a thing, and it's a terrible thing, because if you believe in the freedom of speech, then anything that somebody says, just because you disagree with what somebody says, doesn't mean that they don't have a right to have an opinion, or that the facts that they use to drive their opinion are not indeed facts. Like you always hear them say, "Oh, those are your facts." No, they're the facts. Okay, so there's no way around that, right? Likewise, So it goes in both directions. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen from both sides of the aisle. It's not an easy answer, but I'll just say that, I will have a conversation with anybody that's open and honest, right? If someone wants to destroy me with facts, well, then by all means, destroy me with facts. I'm a factual person. Show me the facts, and you can sway my opinion. But if it's not based in facts, or if it's not based in data, I don't want to hear it. Because I care about the facts, I care about reality, I care about the reality that is the life that I live and the world that I live in, and I care about the people within that world, not the theoretical people that live behind gated communities, that they don't care what gun law they pass, because they're going to have armed guards anyway with MP5s and P90s, okay, and radios, right? So see, they don't care what laws they pass against little peons like you and I, because it's never going to apply to them. And they never owned a gun anyway. So how could they possibly understand gun culture and gun ownership when they don't even own guns? They own people that have guns.
Yep. Exactly.
And in their mind, they look at themselves as higher than you, that you're just a peon, that is just a subject. And Elmer Fudd is a slight, tiny microcosm of that cancel culture.
Absolutely. And it's all about indoctrination, too. I mean, the more and more you look at programming that's on television now, especially that's geared toward kids. I find movies all the time and stuff that look great. Like there's a bunch of little movies on Netflix and stuff that look great, but then you get into them a little bit, and then the politics start coming out, and it's pandering to one side, and it's not the side that I agree with. And I will not have my children being indoctrinated by that stuff, so we don't have that programming in our home. And when it appalls me that a show that I grew up with, like Looney Tunes, is gone so far down the deep end because the producers and such are just so liberal and progressive. And I really hate using those terms, but it's the sad truth of the matter. That I can't subject my kids to that anymore. We'll have to just get the old DVDs and watch those. And look at the classics. But it's an unfortunate time when everything is political. Like used to, all right, back in the day, if you went to a sporting event, you go to the sporting event to escape, kind of the doldrums of daily life and politics. But what do you see in sports now? It's all political. The demonstrations, sportscasters saying the wrong thing and then getting canceled, getting fired, forcing to resign, coaches and stuff saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing on social media, being fired. It happens every single day. It is cancel culture, like Eric said, it is well and alive in our culture today. Yep. And it's an unfortunate byproduct of the political stratum that we live in.
Quite unfortunately. So, I think it's a sad day when Looney Tunes gets pushed into the dark underbelly of undesirable things in our country. Looney Tunes represents Americana. When you see a classic Looney Tunes cartoon, it's like you can't help but think, the smell of your grandpa's aftershave, the smell of the coffee he was drinking that morning, like getting up and smelling breakfast cooking.
Saturday morning cartoons,
the
man.
Cold air in the morning, like you're about to go hunting and you watch Looney Tunes before you go out hunt in the morning with your grandpa. Like, that's all Americana. That's our culture that they're destroying, and they're pushing that culture into a dark underbelly that, you have to go get these old school Looney Tunes tapes. It's like they want to treat it like you're some bad person to seek out that forbidden fruit, that you're not supposed to partake in. And it's a sad time for our country, and I hope that we find our way. But we wanted to mention this for those of you that didn't know about it. We definitely love to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. If you see value in the channel and you wish to support us, there's many ways you can do so. Patreon, folks can buy shirts over on Ballistic Ink. We got some great designs over there. Thank you guys so much for that. And also, we sell a product called Man Cans, a great box of stuff that we hand select for you guys. Some great boxes over there. Go get one. We know you're going to love the items, and all the funds that we earn go right back into supporting our channel. So thank you guys so very much. I think I'm going to go watch some old school Looney Tunes.
I think so. Good idea.
Have a good one, guys.
See you guys.